And there we go, through the clouds. That's ridiculous. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Untitled Projects. We're looking at something pretty special today. The Eurofighter Typhoon. Now, it's just going into a nosedive real quick there, but it's pretty interesting. And this has been out for a while, but it just has not been on my radar because when it first came out, no one wanted to touch it with a barge pole because it wasn't a great flight model. I think the textures were out. I think there were loads of things that didn't work. I think the instrument panel was not great. And there were a lot of bad reviews. I mean, there were a lot of 3 stars, 2 stars, frustrated people. And it was expensive. It came from Sim Market by a developer called Informatica Az. And it was retailing for 2160 euros, which is about £20 and $26. Sorry, America. So it's pretty pricey. So I think people were expecting a lot, considering when you're in the marketplace in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you're buying things for kind of £15, £16, £19, and those are really quite high fidelity flight models from people like Carinado. And then the MB339 came out, and that was gorgeous. A couple of little bugs here and there, but nevertheless a very nice plane to fly. And then the Eurofighter came out. And it wasn't that long after the MB339, but it just didn't stack up, basically. So it's got better since then. We also have to remember that it's very difficult for developers with Microsoft Flight Simulator and all of the updates that continually happen that destroy certain APIs that get switched off and things just don't work anymore. So all this hard work these developers have gone through, it's pretty difficult. And I know for people like DC that are making the F-15E Strike Eagle, it was going to be released a couple of weeks ago, and that's now been pushed back to January because of some updates that have just made things very difficult for people. So bear that in mind. This still has a long way to go, I think, but it is so much fun and it is so fast that I'm willing to give a little bit of rope on this one. Even though it was pricey, it is the fastest jet in the whole of Microsoft Flight Simulator, as you would suspect. You know, we're just cruising along at about 800 knots at the moment, so yeah, pretty sweet. So like I said, it's got a lot of work to do to it, and we're talking texturally, we're talking everything, but I'll take you through all of those little bits. And apart from that, it's a very, very nice plane. Now, a little bit of history about the actual aircraft itself. Now, it's a multi-role fighter, as you probably all know. It's multinational as well, so it's built by lots of different countries, which I think probably led to an absolute shed load of delays. But it's just one of those things. It was released in 2003, so a long time ago. It's a pretty old plane. I mean, we're talking 17 years, and its primary users are obviously the Royal Air Force, the German Air Force, the Italians, and the Spanish. And then there are a couple of tertiary operators who are our buddies in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait, and Qatar. Now, there's been quite a few of these built. There's almost 600 of these about, and they're not cheap. I mean, they are 90 million euros. That's pretty pricey. But for a jet that is this advanced, and this maneuverable, and this fast, and is multi-role, so it can do air-to-air, it can do dogfights, it can do air-to-ground reconnaissance. That it is everything you would ever need. You no longer need 5 different aircraft to do 5 different things. So, in real life, it's a pretty amazing plane. Now, I've seen this a few times at air shows, and it is incredibly loud as well. They tend to do that pass where they'll come down real low and then they'll point the engines at you and shove those afterburners on. Unfortunately, this model doesn't actually have afterburners in it, which I'm hoping will come in an update at some point. But like I said, there's still a lot of work to do to this plane. But in its raw state that it is now, it is a lot of fun. So I'm going to get it back on the ground, and I'm just going to take you through some of the instruments and how to start it up. Actually very, very simple. we'll take off, and then we'll do some low-level flight, see how she performs. I'll take you through some maneuverability and some of the stats in terms of speed, climb rates, and you're going to love the vertical takeoff. So let's have a quick little walk around and have a look at some of these textures and this detailing. Now, this was one of the areas that it fell short last time, but I think the improvements are pretty immense. It's not far off the real thing. Not that I have a massive amount of experience with these aircraft, but it looks legit. There's a couple of different versions that you can get. Oh, this guy's just sliding around. Weird. Maybe it's icy. You can get this shiny version, this very shiny version, which I think looks pretty awesome. And you can get a matte version. But the shiny one, you know, nice. So what about these control surfaces? So it's almost a delta wing, pretty much. Obviously, we've got our rudder at the back there, basic. We have our ailerons here and here. And look at that travel. This is what makes this so maneuverable. That percentage travel is massive. But then its key little feature here is the fact that it has its elevators at the front. And again, look how far that travels. So this is what makes it so maneuverable. I mean, it's an incredibly maneuverable aircraft at low and high speeds. This actual model in Microsoft Flight Simulator is only maneuverable at low speeds. All right, so we're in the cockpit, and you can see it straight away. It is pretty simple. Graphically, it could definitely be improved. It's not Coronado level, but it's not far off. I think there's going to be lots more updates coming that will make this a lot better, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It's definitely usable. Everything is pretty much usable in here from what I can see. Obviously, I'm not a Eurofighter pilot, but from clicking around and figuring out all these different combinations, it's not far off. Some of your navigational equipment here isn't quite working, and there are some buttons on this side that don't work at all, but that's really it. Everything you need to get up in the air, to navigate and to fly, you can use. So obviously you can't eject. That would be fun, wouldn't it, though? So it's pretty simple to get started, and the reason for that is so that when a jet is scrambled, it can get from a pilot sitting in the seat to 10,000 feet in about 5 minutes or so. And this bar here is actually a master key, which you can't use in here, but this will turn on everything you need, all your lighting, all your avionics, both your engines will spool up, the whole thing. So you literally just pull this and the whole aircraft is ready to go. But we don't have that in this version. Hopefully it'll come at some point. You can just press E to, or whatever combination you have for a key command to start everything, but we'll do this manually. So let's get our generators on. They are on. Yep, alternators are on. Good, good. Let's get our fuel going. Fuel pump. Battery master on. Fuel pumps are on. Now these I don't think work. You can click on them forever and they won't work. Let's get the avionics. Very nice. These are your starters here. I'm just going to make sure I've got everything I need on here. These should all go back, but a lot of these are unusable, inoperable. The other thing is that you don't see an inoperable tool tag. Doesn't pop up. So we've got our lighting. This is all on. Set pump as active. Okay, I think these are all pretty good. That's your de-icing system. And this is how you start your engines. And you're going to get some pretty nice sounds. So the sounds in this are really good, I think. There's a little room for improvement, but I think they're pretty nice. So it's going to take a while for your engine to spool up. Make sure your parking brake is on. And that your throttle is only a tiny bit open, maybe 1% to 4%. No, please, come on. So we started up. Let's watch our oil pressure. Everything will go up. These take a while to get going because they're such powerful engines. Let's have a look outside. Nice heat blur there. Very nice. Right, so they're looking pretty good. Now they're going to do a little weird spike in a minute. And I think that's them totally initiated. All right, cool. So I think we're good to go. So now we've got our engine started. Let's have a look around the cockpit. We've got all of these screens. We have our map. We have our artificial horizon. We've got 2 of those, which is very, very useful. We've also got a 3rd in the HUD up here. So I'll take you through the HUD separately. Now, this is pretty useful. I tend to keep my engines up all the time, but this is your startup procedure. Very cool. Here's your checklist. If you want to go through all of those, you've really got to zoom in. I can hardly see that. Be nice if that was bigger. This is showing your layout. Obviously, you don't have any droppable things or any missiles, so kind of irrelevant, but nice to see. Your electrics, and you can click on all of these. A lot of them are inoperable, but the buttons work, which is kind of nice. I'm assuming this will work. Sorry, this is your fuel, not electrics. Your engines you can turn on and off. I like it on all the time, and this is your navigation display. Then you can turn your compass on. There's some weather you can turn on as well, so this will let you know what to do in terms of that. And let's just turn that off. Straight back to here. Cool, so we'll leave that on that for the time being. You can change your course and heading and your actual speed. This is exactly the same, this computer. It just is a bigger display so you can see other things. So I tend to put my weather on this one here. Which is just a nice little use of these screens. So it is very... let's turn these off. There we go. So, yeah, you can basically set it up any way you like. Some more navigational stuff. Don't think any of that works at the moment. None of this works. Obviously, you can't fire anything. That would be nice to fire some rockets, shoot down some planes on multiplayer, but it's not that kind of game, guys. And then none of these buttons here work yet. So it's got a lot of basic functionality and everything you need. Here's your master cautions. Now that's going to be if you don't have your landing gear or if you're going over speed, all that kind of stuff. We have an engine fire. You've got to work it out yourself. Then your autopilot is up here, and you've got some navigational sources here. So this is your autopilot on and off. Here's your heading. Here's your navigation mode, which you should have on all the time. Hold your altitude and your vertical speed. So apart from that, that's all you need to know to get up in the air. And so I'm going to taxi to the end of the runway now. I'll get a little pushback help. And we'll take... Alright, getting a little pushback help. Some dude down here who's probably going to get sucked into the intakes, but that's cool. These guys here must be thinking I'm an absolute G. Which is true, I'm in a Eurofighter Typhoon, so what are you going to do about it? Cool, okay, so let's stop that pushback. And that is the end of my pushback. So parking brakes off. Let's get up. So this is super maneuverable on the ground. I mean, it turns on a dime. It's awesome. Alright, so I'm going to get to the end of the runway. And you can taxi this pretty fast. I'll see you there. It's absolutely not walking speed, but, you know, I've been scrambled. Alright, so just lining up on the center line. Very nice. Like I said, this is so maneuverable, this plane on the ground, that you can basically get it to anywhere you need. Right, let's cut the engine a little. Cool, so let's get that parking brake on. Cool, okay. So a couple of things you need to know before you take off is that it rotates at about 130, 140 knots. I haven't figured out where it stalls at, but I'm assuming it stalls probably at about 120 or slightly less, maybe 110. Could be higher, I don't know. We've got to find that out when we land. I haven't landed yet. I've just been doing some serious low-level flying. And the other thing you're going to need is your HUD. So this is very useful, but just be warned that if you go below a certain angle of attack or above a certain angle of attack, you're going to lose your HUD because your HUD will follow it. So basics, you've got your speed on the side, you've got your heading at the top there, and you have your altitude here and your compass here, which is all very useful. You don't really need anything else. This is your horizon. Now that works very well. I have to say that the HUD is actually pretty good. It can get a little bit shuddery sometimes and appear to have quite a low frame rate individually from the scenery. But apart from that, it's very workable. And this guy needs to get off the runway. God's sake. So, and here's your angle of attack. Now you don't want to take off above 10% plus. And then as soon as you've got it above, I don't know, maybe 100 feet, then you can go vertical. But get a lot of speed up, and the takeoff on this is absolutely insane. Right, I'll show you how it works. Right, let's get this up to 100%. Parking brake doesn't seem to work very well. So we can actually take off now, but I'm going to go vertical. Oh, sorry, vehicle. And we've taken off a little bit of speed. So I'm going to get up to about 400 and then ride up. That is insane. And you're just going to... I mean, we're almost up to 10,000 feet. And there we are, 10,000 feet. Let's punch through this cloud before we stall. I'm just going to lever her out a little bit. So we're still at quite an angle heading through here. So we're still at about 10%. And we're almost through the clouds. And look at that. Literally through the clouds. So amazing. And we're at 20,000 feet. So what's not to like? You could try and do this in an X-Cub if you want. It's not going to work. But that is amazing. So this is part of the fun side of this aircraft, is that you can fly serious distances. You can get to serious heights very, very quickly. Let's level her out a little bit, and you'll see the speed that it can get up to. You can also trim it, weirdly enough. Now, I think it's probably an auto-trimming aircraft, but let's get it there at just above 5%, about 7% climb. So, what more can I say? It's just an incredibly good fun aircraft. Not sure it's worth the money at the moment. There's a lot of weird things going on, like the pilot looks a bit weird, looks really small. I don't know if that's the real size. But everything else seems to work pretty well. Right, so we're about 800 knots now. And I'll just show you some maneuverability. So at this speed, the maneuverability isn't great, which isn't true to life, unfortunately, but check it out. So let's get away from the HUD. So that's pretty slow, I would say. Because at lower speeds, it's probably twice or three times faster than that. Now, if I get the speed brake out, and really take it down, it's going to maneuver a lot better. See, they're so much faster now. And so much more maneuverable. So at the moment, it's very good at low speeds. At high speeds, not so good. So I'm going to get it into the valley now and just see how it performs down at low level. Okay, and here we go, coming down. Right, so we're at 900 miles an hour. This is so fast. Right, I think I might just put this to a little bit of music. Check it out. And that is it. I hope you enjoyed it. I have to say, this aircraft is, you know, could have a lot of improvement. Up to you if you buy it or not. But it is so fast and so fun. I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. But I'm just going to go vertical real quick, and then we'll go from there. And there we go, through the clouds. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so thanks for watching the content. Hit that subscribe button if you like it. You'll get the next video. And apart from that, thanks for stopping by, and enjoy the run up to Christmas. All right. Bye.